Because the problem, again, is that from this Cartesian scientific point of view, as an objective observer, you're not allowed to feel or allow anything that you feel to influence that objectivity. And so, if it is true that nature has feelings, meanings, purposes, that organisms in fact are conscious, then you would not be able to understand them from your objective point of view. Because unless you allow your feelings to influence the way you understand what you're observing, you will not understand what you are observing. So, this is the problem. Science, obviously, is supposed to be about reality and getting to reality based on experience and experiment rather than dogma and tradition and assumption. So if that's true, and our experience of reality is such that everything we observe does, in a sense, possess interiority. It possesses a meaning, whether it's the stars we're looking at, whether it's the growth of plants, our crops that we feed on, whether it's thunderstorms, any process in nature like that, climate, weather, whether it's our pet animals, our dogs, our cats, or other human beings. That reality out there has feelings. It understands. It possesses a meaningful experience of the world, of its world. And you can share its world with it because you are like it. Feelings aren't, these private, entirely subjective, contained, isolated experiences. Feelings are shared with other people, with nature, with our environment. If we can accept that as part of the nature of reality, then science needs to change, at least if it wants to understand the nature of reality. It could be, and I'm willing to say it is, the case that nature has feelings, because we are natural beings and we have feelings, if anything. And so to deny it to anything else that exists outside of human skulls is the most anthropomorphic declaration you could make. Because I know I'm going to get this attack that this is anthropomorphizing, the physical world, which we cannot attribute, godlike properties to. Like, people think I'm advocating some form of animism, probably. That the trees speak to us and we can dance and cause it to rain. But, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying reality is meaningful. That the story that science tells about the so-called objective universe is told by someone. It is a mythology that a culture accepts because it conforms to our culture's experience. And I think our modern scientific cosmology, which is still a form of mythology, is the most astonishing and spiritually rejuvenating understanding of our place in the cosmos that we have ever had in our history. Or at least it has that potential. It can certainly be understood in reductive ways that negate all of that, but the fact that we're stardust, that the universe is finite, it has a beginning and presumably some kind of ending, this is astonishing. And the fact, the anthropic principle, the most cautious understandings of what the implications of this principle are, is that, well, for example, dark energy is soon going to move galaxies far enough away from each other that no observer within any of those galaxies will be able to see past or outside of its own galaxy. So, in a few billion years, there would be no opportunity for an intelligent life form to know the truth about reality. And if that's a quality of the universe that we live in, who's to say that's not already the case in some unfathomable way that we don't even understand yet? So, it sort of throws objectivity for a loop because there is no ground for reality, no transcendental, logical, mathematically eternal, separate realm that can stand for this reality. There aren't a finite set of mathematical laws, physical laws that could entirely describe what happens in this universe. We can certainly continually derive new mathematical methods of measuring and predicting what goes on, but that's not what the world is. The world itself is not objective. It's as much subjective as it is objective. It is something experienced, an outside external world, and someone experiencing an internal subjective mind. And so instead of trying to understand it in this linear way, that there is an objective world and we as these accidents that fell into this place mysteriously have to come to accept what it is independently of our subjective minds. Rather than see it that way, we can understand it as we are in relationship to this world. We came out of it. We are of it. We are of its nature. Of course, the universe is human-like. So anthropomorphizing is not only necessary, I mean, it's impossible to conceive of anything other than in human terms. So I'm calling for a form of humanism that doesn't say nature is meaningless and humans have to create some semblance of a purpose for themselves and sort of, you know, ignore the carnage going on around them. I think that's not enough. I think a true humanism is an embracing of all of life, because humans are the first life to realize that unity. Not only to be it, but to step up, stand up, grab a hold of the world and start manipulating it and say, this is me. I can do with this what I want because it is exactly like my own body. And that understanding, when it becomes wise, I mean, we can be doing this, and we have been doing this for thousands of years without most of us realizing, wow, this means something significant about the nature of the universe. That I can be self-conscious and do what I want and have purposes and desires and memories, and I can understand the world as a whole. Maybe not that I could describe it in some finite way and write one book that encapsulates everything I experientially know about the world, about the whole thing. But in experience, not just personal experience, but shared experience, human beings can come together and feel at one and feel true community. If that weren't possible, we would still be, you know, I guess uncivilized, even though I don't know that we're that civilized even as a civilization, if you know what I mean. But I guess that's enough ranting for today. So let me know what y'all think of this craziness.